Alright, so just about to go check out the waves. I think it's pretty big and also a little messy today, but we'll probably head out anyway. I'm just going to check it out now, but it does actually line up pretty well with some of the things I wanted to chat about today. So let's go see what it's like. So as you can probably see, the waves aren't phenomenal, but I'm going to head out anyway, give it a crack, and I think, as I said, it ties in well with what I wanted to speak about today, and just how a little change in your mindset, I feel like, can really help with your surfing, both with the enjoyment factor, but also improving, and I think it can make a drastic improvement in your surfing, and I'd like just to share a little bit about what I've learned as to, I guess, reframing a little bit of that and getting out of the water more often and making the most of it. So let's get into the ad and see how we go. Phew. Okay, so today wanting to talk a little bit about, I guess, what I've learned with respect to mindset and how that can play a part in, I guess, enjoying surfing in general, but also surfing improvement, which is obviously something that I've worked a fair bit on in my surfing journey. Now, obviously, today will be more of a focus on how to change that mindset or use a different mindset to get out when the waves are, I guess, less than preferable, when the waves aren't amazing, but completely understand as well that that's not for everybody. For some people, you might just want to get out when the waves are pumping, and that's all good as well. But this is more so just to how to make the most of those the conditions and get yourself into the right frame of mind for enjoying and making the most of conditions when the waves are pretty shocking like they were today. So So let's firstly cover why it's important. I think something I like to reflect on is that I think most of us have got that friend who's just always enthusiastic and frothing to get out in the water. And I actually really like that and think it's a good thing to take on. Someone who does this really well, if you're watching kind of the surfing space in YouTube, is Jamie O'Brien, just kind of encouraging people to get out into the water. And I think, yeah, it is a really, really useful mindset, particularly for groms and stuff, to get them out in the water more. And as I'll talk a little bit about later as well, for your beginner surfers or for people who are trying to learn things that don't really require good waves, I think getting out in the water more often and getting the repetition and hopefully being able to enjoy that is the best thing you can do. One of the first things I did want to chat about why it's important to have this mindset shift is because I suppose when you're getting out into bad waves, I actually think the bad waves teach you about your surfing quite a lot. When you're in good waves, it can hide a lot of our problems because it's easier to connect sections and it's easier to make certain maneuvers, nose rides, turns, everything like that. And so when you come out in bad waves, things like wave selection and where you perform your maneuvers, they all seem to come up. And that's why I think bad surf can be really frustrating because we go out there and there's just a combination of all these things that we weren't expecting and maybe we haven't practiced too much coming to fruition. And so I think bad waves are really good at highlighting the aspects of your surfing that you need to work on, which can be a good thing to realize if you're wanting to take that on board and try and progress your surfing and step up to the next level. Lastly, the reason why I think this little mindset shift can be really, really important for surfers. If you've been surfing a while and you're really happy with where your surfing's at, it might not be as important, but particularly for people if they're just having started or they're wanting to learn more quickly or learn something in a short amount of time, I think you learn more when you surf more. So not only will you learn the things that you want to be learning a little bit quicker because you'll get more repetition and you'll get more practice, but I think surfing more actually highlights different areas of your surfing that you might need to work on, that you want to work on, that you might not have thought of otherwise, just because you'll notice different things in your sessions. And I always think about the more that you do an activity, the more you kind of learn about what you need to learn. So it's going from, what do they call it, not knowing about something or not having experienced something, and then once you've had a few sessions or more experience in the water, you'll know what you need to work on a little bit more. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think that people can improve upon if they're surfing a lot more. And again, just like I said before, really important for your beginner surfers. I think when you're just starting out, getting in the water as much as possible is extremely beneficial. Again, if we're wanting to increase that learning curve or expedite that. So your things like your pop-up, positioning, chest over front foot, learning your first turns and just the shapes that you need to make for all of your turns for the beginner surfers can be really, really good. Things like cross-stepping and even coming into the correct shapes for your more critical turns and everything like that, not too condition dependent. So I think that can be really, really good for those surfers who are a little bit further along the line as well. And just the last quick point that I wanted to make there is that particularly for competitive surfers, I think it's really, really important to get at even when the waves are bad. I know for myself, what I'll do is if the waves aren't too good, I can always take a mindset of, okay, I want to try and work on this in bad conditions, but I can also try and make sure that I'm surfing well, because in most contests, the conditions aren't going to be favorable. So I need to make sure that I can produce scores in those kind of scenarios. And if you listen to the top guys as well, you'll hear them say that they're surfing a lot and they get really good at surfing pretty poor waves and being able to make the most of them, getting really good at wave selection, how they position their boards on the poor waves, and also how they think about things like different equipment and different strategies out there in the water when the waves are bad. So if you're a competitive surfer, I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as well. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about why it's important to have this mindset shift and the things that we can, I guess, achieve. But exactly how do we achieve this mindset change? So having the drive and having the motivation to get out in the water when it's not so good, and we're not going to get the perfect waves or anything like that. How do we change that mindset so that we can get out there and still enjoy it, and maybe still get a little bit more out of our surfing and learn more as well? I think something that's really important to think about is the fact that as longboarders as well, we can make use of some waves that other shortboarders might call it a day where they don't want to get out in the water and it's not worth it, just because we've got the equipment to float us and to ride into these smaller waves. And when the waves aren't as powerful, when we've got fat conditions and things like that, we can still have a really fun time on the log. And so I think we just need to extend that a bit further and think about how can we change the way we're approaching sessions, whether that be equipment, how we're thinking about it, what we're focusing on, when the waves aren't, even in favor of the longboard. But I think as longboarders, we probably do get the opportunity to get out there a little bit more often. So how do we build upon that further? One of the things that I think helps, particularly for me, who, I love just going surfing to enjoy surfing, but I also like to work on certain things. I've got a list that I work on in terms of the things that if I'm going out to practice, what I might like to be focusing on. And I think as part of that list, it's useful to have different things that I guess lend themselves to different conditions. So for your perfect conditions, you might have, your long tens, how to extend those out a bit more. You might have, tweaking out the drop knee turns or your other turns a little bit more, placing your board more on rail, but also those aspects of surfing that lend themselves to waves where, you're not going to be able to do what you can in, more perfect conditions. For myself, that's something like being able to switch stance on a right-hander and keep my balance through a pretty wobbly whitewater section. And so I think it looks really nice when a goofy footer can go from their backhand to their forehand and drive through some whitewater and keep their balance. And it also really helps to maintain speed through the whitewater, something that I want to work on myself and that I have been working on. So I don't really need perfect conditions for that, and I know that I can go out there and practice that again and again and again. If the waves are closing out or if the waves are pretty sectiony, I need that section will present itself quite often. And it will be a challenge because conditions will be wanting to bump me off the board, but I've got to make sure that I'm nice and stable and feel really comfortable in that position. And that's just one of the examples there. There's a whole bunch of things that you could potentially be wanting to work on depending on where your surfing's at, and having those aspects or that list to at least have in your head so that you can rock up to the beach, and if the waves aren't looking too good, but you think, okay, I could still go out there, have some fun and practice this, because it's not condition dependent. It just depends on how maybe my approach, maybe your positioning, maybe something that you can just try on, a wave no matter what it's doing. I think that's really, really important, and it keeps things fun as well. It might push you to get out in the water more, which is super enjoyable, and get more out of your surfing as well, that you might not focus on those things when the waves are good because you don't need to. Now this probably goes without saying, but we need the right board for the conditions as well. So I think if we've got one board, sometimes that can, lead us to surf one certain type of wave as well. But if we've got a variety of boards that kind of work well in a variety of conditions, I think that's the best thing we can do. Something I've noticed, if the waves are messy, just like they were in the edit before, a really nicely rockered board can help immensely. This is because the rocker will sort of lift you out of the chop with your turns. Obviously with more rocker, when you do turns, you've got more rail disengagement. So it can really help to, minimize your risk of bogging a rail. And then also because of all the little, sections that will come up on and the little bumps in the face of the wave, it can help to have that rocker on the nose. Also to give you that extra lift so you can feel more confident that you're not going to nosedive when you're hanging 10. I just think it provides that extra layer of safety when the waves aren't perfect. and it makes me, or enables me, to enjoy those messy conditions a little bit more and kind of just go for things without having to, I guess, rely on being in that perfect section. On the same note there, maybe you have a fun board that you want to go out and just try different things on when the waves aren't so good. That might be a lighter board, or it might be a short board, a fish, something like that, to go out and have fun with. So be prepared to ride a bunch of equipment, and I guess don't take every surf so seriously either. Just go out there and have fun. Maybe it is that session where you just, prepared to fall and just go for some wild sort of things. I think that can be a really good approach to those sessions as well. Now, this is probably the thing that's led me to get in the water most when the conditions aren't so good. But it's actually realizing for myself as a competitive surfer that all you need to mimic a competition is a time frame in the water. And I guess quite often we don't have great waves either. So even if you only go out in the terrible conditions for 30 minutes, if you are a competitive surfer, I think that's really, really useful, because what I have to try and do is I have to try and increase the reliability of putting scores on the board and not just catching 50 waves and only 2 of them were good because wave selection was poor and I didn't ride the waves I guess the way that the waves were asking me to. So being able to produce really reliable surfing and really reliable scores is a big thing that I need to learn. And so going out for those 30-minute heats, if you want to say that, has been really good for me, and I get out in the water a lot more often because I'm not necessarily just thinking, okay, let's go out because the waves are amazing. I'm going out there to kind of challenge myself and to see, all right, how many good waves can I do, can I get within this time frame? This is all good for me. Also when I need to, get to work on time and stuff like that, just giving myself that time frame. But I think this can also be really helpful for people not thinking that you have to spend a whole bunch of time in the water when the waves aren't good, but just to tell yourself, oh well, whatever, I'll get out there for 30 minutes and have a bit of fun. I think that's a good mindset to get into as well for that reason. And with that, as we spoke about why it's important before, you're going to recognize different aspects of your surfing that you need to work on. You're going to be able to work on, I guess, surfing in the trickier conditions, which can help you surfing out a lot. And you're going to get more practice by getting in the water more. So I think overall, just even those 30-20-minute sessions can be really, really helpful. In terms of how to practice when you're out in the water or to make the most of that, I do have another video that you can check out. It's the Sunday Glide 80 if you want to check that out. It's just a couple videos back, but I think that really helps with being able to have an intention for going out into the water when you do want to practice things. And I think that's a really good thing to keep in consideration when you're going out and the waves aren't phenomenal. So that actually wraps up today's edit of the Sunday Glide. Hope it was helpful. I know that it would be amazing if we had great conditions all of the time. But I think, if we can foster a bit of an optimistic relationship with the waves when they're not so great, can help us have more fun, learn more, and just get out in the water more, which is, I guess, what we all want to do, ideally. So we'll have another Sunday Glide coming up on Sunday, and then tip time again on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Something really exciting is we've got the designs that are getting sorted out for the new shirts as well. For, again, the people that have expressed their interest for that, I'll be messaging you soon when we've got those ready to order. And then for anyone else who's interested, please just let me know, message me in the comments or on my Instagram or anything like that. Other than that, if you did want to support the channel, if you want any coaching, we do one-on-one coaching, either face-to-face or online. And there's also a few other links in the description if you did want to support the channel in any other way. Other than that, I hope you guys are getting waves. Even if you're not getting waves, try and get out there and maybe implement some of the things that we chatted about today. Get that list out, work on those things that don't require really good conditions, and just have some fun with it. Hope you are getting waves, and we'll see you soon.